Have you ever met someone and immediately felt that they were meant to be in your life? It doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic relationship. It could be a deep friendship, a partnership, a mentor, or even a stranger who appeared at just the right moment. Coincidence? Or something more, something that resonates with your inner world? In this video, we'll dive into Carl Jung's views on insignificant connections and try to understand why it seems like some people are truly meant for us. We'll explore the influence of the unconscious on our attraction, talk about synchronicity as a manifestation of deep harmony, and learn to distinguish a genuine connection from an illusion. And perhaps we will ask the most important question. Before finding your soulmate, have you found yourself? Let's get started. Carl Jung did not believe in simple coincidences. From his point of view, the events and people that appear in our lives have deep symbolic meaning. Each interaction reflects something within us, often something hidden in the unconscious. When someone appears and seems strangely familiar, as if you have known this person forever, Jung called this synchronicity, a meaningful coincidence. It is that rare moment when your inner world intersects with external reality at the perfect time. Such encounters are not accidental. They become mirrors of your inner state, bringing understanding, healing, or even inner conflict. But that doesn't mean that every strong connection has to be eternal. The unconscious does not seek comfort. It strives for growth. And sometimes it is precisely those who evoke the deepest feelings in us who awaken our deepest wounds. Sometimes such people come into our lives not to stay, but to wake us up. They are like catalysts. They uncover something forgotten, repressed, or unconscious. Through pain, admiration, or even disappointment, they bring us back to ourselves, to the parts we have avoided or underestimated. Jung believed that in every person we meet, there lives a shadow, a reflection of our own shadows and light. And the stronger the emotional response, the greater the potential for inner transformation. But recognizing such a connection does not always mean holding on to it. Sometimes it is important not to get caught up in it, but to understand what it has taught us. To understand and let go. Because the true purpose of such encounters is not to fill us with someone else, but to awaken wholeness within us. After all, the deepest connection we can create is the connection with ourselves. What really attracts the unconscious? If you've noticed that you get stuck in the same scenarios, abandonment, emotional unavailability, conflicts, Jung would say that this is not fate. It is your unconscious speaking to you in its own language. The psyche strives for wholeness. And as long as unconscious patterns remain in the shadows, we will relive them over and over again, like a recurring play, hoping for a different ending. That is why some dynamics seem painfully familiar. You are not cursed. You are simply being shown what still needs healing. For example, if you felt unseen as a child, in adulthood you may unconsciously gravitate toward people who ignore your needs. Not because you are seeking suffering, but because your psyche is trying to understand this pain, rewrite it, and complete the cycle. But as long as this remains unconscious, the scenario will repeat itself. That is why awareness is the first step to freedom. Until you see the root cause, you confuse the symptom with the cause. You may call it bad luck, karma, or a mistake, but in reality, it is simply a mirror of your unresolved beliefs. And only when you face them head-on do you begin to rewrite not your relationships, but yourself. True transformation begins when you stop looking for the right people and start looking inside. When you ask not why this happened to me, but what it says about me. Every relationship, especially a painful one, is an invitation. To look deep inside, to understand your needs, fears, and blind spots. It's not about blaming yourself or others. It's about understanding, about choice, about the opportunity to no longer act out of old pain, but out of new awareness. Jung wrote that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will control your life, and you will call it fate. So the real work is not in finding the perfect person, but in becoming a person who is capable of recognizing, accepting, and maintaining a healthy relationship. And then, when you get to know yourself, you will get to know your partner. Not because they will fill the void, but because they will meet you with wholeness, and it will no longer be dependence, but harmony, not a repetition of pain, but its completion. Become the person who attracts their soulmate. Carl Jung believed that the path of individuation, the path of becoming oneself, is the foundation of any healthy relationship. When you are fragmented, you attract those who reflect your fragmentation. When you are whole, you attract from wholeness. This is not just a beautiful metaphor. This is a psychological, emotional, and even energetic reality. Many people search for their soulmate without ever becoming someone who is capable of recognizing them. They ask, "Why do I attract people who don't appreciate me?" But a more honest question is, do I appreciate myself? As long as you feel a sense of inner deficiency, you will attract people who reinforce it. But when you start to change your relationship with yourself, the world changes in response. People who previously seemed attractive lose their power over you. You no longer look for what you lack in others. You tune into different frequencies. And new, harmonious connections appear. This is not magic. It is you ceasing to define yourself with the words of others and beginning to speak from your own integrity. You no longer enter into relationships out of hunger, but out of wholeness. That is why a real meeting with your soulmate begins long before the meeting itself. It begins with meeting yourself, with acknowledging your wounds, your needs, your shadow, with a willingness not only to be loved, but also to love truly, without illusions. Not out of fear of being alone, but out of a sense of wholeness that wants to share. Jung did not give simple answers, but he believed. When you walk the path to yourself, you will inevitably meet those who walk the same path. And then the connection will not be salvation, but union. Not through the attraction of trauma, but through the harmony of souls. So before you look for someone who will recognize you, ask yourself if you have recognized yourself, if you have become someone you want to come to not out of need, but out of mutual recognition. Because a genuine connection is not something that needs to be earned. It is something that happens when two people come to themselves and meet each other. Synchronicity or projection, learning to distinguish between them. There is a subtle but important distinction between synchronicity and projection. When you feel a strong attraction to someone, it is worth asking yourself, is this really harmony, or am I projecting my unfulfilled needs, dreams, and fears onto them? Jung explained that when we are not aware of certain qualities in ourselves, we tend to attribute them to others. If you fell in love with someone's confidence, charisma, or liveliness, it is quite possible that you simply rejected these parts of yourself. You did not see the person. You saw a canvas onto which you unconsciously projected your shadow or your light. And where is the danger? When a person does not live up to the ideal you have created, the illusion collapses and disappointment sets in. Not because the person has changed, but because you didn't see them from the beginning, you saw yourself, whom you wanted to find outside. So how can you tell the difference? A true connection is not a whirlwind that throws you off balance. It is not a constant pursuit, anxiety, and desire to be enough. A real connection grounds you, it brings peace, clarity, and quiet confidence. You feel not only the other person, you feel yourself next to them, real, accepted, whole. Intuition does not lie. Are you listening? One of Carl Jung's most subtle and underrated teachings is the importance of intuition. He believed that the unconscious does not speak in words. It speaks through sensations, subtle emotional currents that flow beneath the surface of logic. Remember, have you ever ignored that quiet, persistent feeling that something was wrong? Stayed in a relationship despite your inner discomfort, convincing yourself that you were just too sensitive? But your body knew, it always knew. It was intuition. When someone is truly yours, your nervous system is not in alarm mode. You don't analyze every word. You're not afraid to be yourself. You don't wait for the blow when everything seems too good. You feel calm, light, natural. Not a passion that burns, but a warmth that holds. That's the truth. A real connection doesn't shout, it whispers. And if you've done the inner work to calm your fears and insecurities, you'll hear that whisper clearly, without doubt. Because it will come from within, not from outside. Love is not a battlefield. One of the most destructive myths of modern culture is the idea that love must be turbulent to be real. That emotional highs and lows are a sign of passion. But Jung would remind us, chaos is not connection. Struggle is not proof of depth. If you feel that love is a battle, ask yourself, what am I fighting for? For love or for confirmation of my own worth? Is it really a feeling or a fear of being alone? True love does not require you to betray yourself. It does not feed on power, drama, or emotional acrobatics. The one who is yours will not make you diminish yourself. They will create a space in which you can expand, letting go of what is not yours. This is one of the most difficult truths. Many say they are looking for their soulmate, but at the same time are not ready to let go of someone who has already proven that they are not the one. They hold on, make excuses, hope, but years go by and nothing changes. Jung would say that you cannot grow in barren soil. If a relationship only brings pain, it's not a test, it's a message. Your subconscious is still trying to heal itself through suffering. And until you realize this, you will confuse persistence with loyalty, and pain with love. Letting go is not weakness, it is maturity, it is a choice to no longer betray yourself for the sake of an imaginary connection. And when you finally choose peace over chaos, a shift occurs. You free up space, and into that space comes the one who is truly meant for you. Not because you searched harder, but because you stopped settling for less. How will you know? When someone is truly yours, you will know. Not because they are perfect, not because they match your expectations, but because their presence does not require you to give up yourself. You will feel peace, visibility, inspiration, but without overload. This connection will not require proof, it will simply be. You will stop chasing clarity, it will be there from the start. Quiet confidence, a sense of harmony that requires nothing but truth. So instead of asking, is this person right for me? Ask yourself another question: am I being true to myself in this relationship? Because as soon as you become yourself, the people who are meant for you will not pass you by, they will recognize you as easily as you recognize them. Final thoughts: it all starts with you. Carl Jung taught, the most important path is the path inward. When you choose to look at your shadow, to heal, to grow, you begin to resonate at a different frequency. And then the connections that used to hold you back no longer resonate, and new ones begin to appear naturally. You don't have to force them, you don't have to chase after them. You simply become someone who is able to recognize a genuine connection when it comes. And when it comes, it doesn't feel like magic, it feels like truth, like home. If this message resonated with you, share your story in the comments. Are you still on the path to becoming? Or have you already experienced that very harmonious encounter that cannot be confused? Remember, you deserve better, in life, in thoughts, in your surroundings. If this video has been a step towards change, share your thoughts in the comments. If you found this video useful, subscribe to the Flow of Thoughts channel. The next video may be the next step for you. Thank you for watching. See you soon.